Good morning, children. Here we are going to learn about respiratory system in humans. Before, we have learned about aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration, and how the respiration is going to take place anaerobically and aerobically in different types of animals, that is unicellular and multicellular. Whereas here we are going to learn about the respiratory system in humans and how it takes place in humans, that is in man. First of all, before going to learn about how the respiration takes place, first we have to learn about the parts of the respiratory system. The parts of the respiratory system is, first part is nose. Nose is been having two holes. It is been next part of it is with two holes, that is nothing but called as nostrils. Nostrils will be extended to form the other part, which is called as nasal passage. This nasal passage leads to a common canal for mouth cavity and this nasal passage. So in between these two, to separate the mouth cavity and nasal passage, here we have there is a hard bony structure which is called as palate, which is going to be separate the nasal passage and mouth cavity. Even while we are eating food also we are going to breathe. That is why we can see that these two, the nasal passage and mouth cavity are separated. And the continuation you can see the pharynx. And after that we can see the these rings of cartilage which is going to form a continuously down to the chest cavity and down to the chest cavity, that is nothing but called as trachea. Trachea is also called as windpipe. And the starting part of the trachea, we can see a structure which is going to produce the sound is called as voice box or larynx. What it is called as? Voice box or larynx. And then this trachea is made up of a soft bones of cartilage. Sometimes it is a soft bones of cartilage even though there is no air. Even though there is no air, the trachea is not going to be collapsed. Why? Because it is made up of soft bones of cartilage. And then these trachea is going to be divided into two parts, which is called as bronchus. And this bronchus is being leading into the chest cavity called as two lungs. They are leading to within the chest cavity forming lungs. So there are two lungs which are being present in the chest cavity. So these lungs are being protected by the rib cage. Means it is a we can chest is ribs, which is called as thoracic cage or chest cavity. We can call it as. So it is giving protection with the bones which are giving protection to the lungs. So lungs are being covered with two layers of membrane, which is called as pleura, which is what it is called as pleura. And when as we got it now, this part how the lungs are being placed in the chest cavity. Now we can see that this bronchus, we learned about bronchus just now, that is divided and it is leading to many bronchioles which are being branched like roots within the chest cavity. And here we can see that these bronchioles will be having a tiny air sacs, that is millions of air sacs which are present. Those are nothing but called as alveoli. What they are called as? Alveoli. And these alveoli will be a tiny air sacs where the air is going to enter inside the lungs and further it is being distributed in a diffusion mechanism to various parts of the body. So even at the same time we can see that even CO2 is also being taken up and released out. So this is the breathing mechanism where when we take in air, oxygen enters, when we breathe out, we can see the carbon dioxide will be given out at the same time within the alveoli. So what is alveoli? First we have to know that what is alveoli. It is a tiny air sac which is being surrounded by many tiny blood vessels which are called as capillaries. What they are called as capillaries. So here how these capillaries are going to work? How these capillaries are going to work means when only the thing is here I said the word diffusion. The diffusion is nothing but the air molecules will be moving automatically, that is exchange of gases which are going to take automatically by high concentration. Air molecules move high concentration to low concentration. Like that you can see that the mechanism takes place. Here even lungs also will be working in the mechanism of it is an breathing is an involuntary action. It is an involuntary action which is being controlled by the brain. Breathing is mechanism or respiration, how it takes place also is controlled by our brain. You know brain where it is located. It is a controlling center of all the systems which are working in our body. And here we got this about lungs, we got a clear picture. And here the chest cavity and the abdominal cavity. You know what is meant by abdominal cavity, where the digestive system is being present. So this is called as, this total lungs which are located is called as chest cavity, and down you can see the abdominal cavity. These two are being separated in muscular structure or muscle, a thin muscle we can call it as. So that is called as diaphragm. What it is called as diaphragm. So why we have to learn about diaphragm means systems are being separated. This chest cavity and abdominal cavity is being separated by the lining of muscle structure which is called as diaphragm. It is going to play an important role in the process of breathing. It is going to play an important role in the process of breathing. So now we learned about parts of the respiratory system and how the air is going to enter through the nose, nostrils, trachea and lungs. This how and what are the parts. Now we are going to learn about this importance of hemoglobin. Why hemoglobin is, why we have to learn about hemoglobin. Hemoglobin, where it is present. Hemoglobin is actually, it is a red pigment which is present in the blood, which is going to bind the oxygen, So hemoglobin is having the capacity to bind the oxygen and pass them through the blood vessels, and this oxygen is going to be carried to all the parts of the body where it is going to reach to each and every cell. Oxygen and food is being carried through the blood because of hemoglobin. If deficiency of hemoglobin, actually we learn about the importance. Now we have to learn about importance of hemoglobin. One thing is, it is going to bind the oxygen and send to all the parts of the body and reach the cell. And the other thing is deficiency of hemoglobin. Sometimes it happens, hemoglobin, actually when we are not taking the iron content foods, we can see the deficiency of hemoglobin. This leads to weakness and we become pale and we unconscious. Sometimes leads to this bloodless, and sometimes we become unconscious and we get weakness. All these things will be taken place because of the deficiency of it. So even by taking place means actually hemoglobin binds the oxygen and sends to all the parts of our body to burn with food. That oxygen should burn with food and convert into energy. Energy will be making to be active and work. That is why we have to know that the importance of hemoglobin. This is the way where you can see that how the importance of hemoglobin is playing an important role. And actually why I am stressing on this means iron content foods we have to take to get correct amount of hemoglobin. Then what is correct amount of hemoglobin? How, what? Actually hemoglobin in the blood, we can see that 15 to 10 to 12 grams. Here we can see that 10 to 12 grams per deciliter of blood the hemoglobin should contain. So that when that is being maintained, the sufficient oxygen is being passed to the different parts of our body. It can bind the more amount of oxygen to get the energy. And here we have to learn the next thing is what is residual volume. Residual volume after when the breathing mechanism takes place, it enters into the alveoli, where the alveoli will play an important role in exchange of gases which takes place. Residual volume means actually when we are breathing the air and the exchange of gases which are being taken place, that is oxygen and carbon dioxide, the alveoli will be having a sufficient time to maintain the volume there to exchange of gases. We have a sufficient time. The other thing is we talk about the importance of alveoli. So alveoli are the tiny air sacs. There are millions of air sacs which are being arranged within the lungs. So how it is maintaining, how much of oxygen is being binded, how it is sending, means we have to know about the importance of alveoli. That is, alveoli will be 80, when we stretch the lungs in a surface area, we can see it is 80 square feet, which is equal to the one tennis court. When the space area, when we spread on this surface area, you can see it is 80 square meters, whereas here this is equal to one tennis court, where the sufficient of oxygen which enters will be distributed by the blood capillaries to the blood vessels, and it is again distributed to different parts of the body. Okay, now the other part, did you get it about the importance of alveoli and the importance of the residual volume and importance of this hemoglobin? And here you can see that the rate of breathing. Then what is meant by rate of breathing? Rate of breathing means it is being calculated how many times and average breathing takes place, how many times per minute, means it takes place for an average breathing for an adult will be taking place from 15 to 18 times. 15 to 18 times. How many? 15 to 18 times per minute. Per minute take. So here that is being calculated. Sometimes you can see that the breathing rate increases. Why it increases? Means when we do physical exercises, as we are playing or doing more exercises, we can see that the rate of breathing increases. That will be more times the heartbeat takes place. To produce the energy, the oxygen is essential for the exercise. Means the utilization of exercise. The utilization of oxygen is more when we are doing the exercise. Then, So physical exercise is also important, that when we do physical exercises and any game when we play daily for half an hour or 1 hour, you can see that the amount of oxygen is being utilized by the body is more, and every cell will be very active. Every cell will be active even in exchange of gases. Amount of oxygen will be reaching to the cell. The same time amount of carbon dioxide is removed. That is why physical exercise is also necessary daily. Normal breathing is an involuntary action. Normal breathing is an involuntary action which takes place, which is being controlled by the brain. And other thing is, here we can see this carbon monoxide. We talk about what is carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide is a poisonous gas. We know that it is poisonous. It is not good for our health. Even though sometimes we can see the carbon monoxide is playing an important role in the process of breathing. Suppose how it is, first of all we know that, we have to know that from where the carbon monoxide is being released. When the fuels burn, we can see that the carbon monoxide is being released into the atmosphere. So when the carbon monoxide is more, there is no way that we breathe. When we breathe, what happens? These carbon monoxide will interfere with the oxygen, and it prevents the oxygen to enter into the capillaries. Instead of oxygen, carbon monoxide interferes. It has the capacity to enter. So it enters into the blood capillaries and then it reaches to all the parts. Due to that, what happens? So sometimes when we breathe continuously this carbon monoxide, there are some effects that we become unconscious, and the starvation of oxygen begins there, and sometimes it continues in taking carbon monoxide. The man is going to die. So oxygen is essential. And then lack of oxygen. Suppose any lung problems, any health problems or lung problems, they may get. So any patient is suffering, is unable to breathe. So that time the oxygen is essential for him to use the oxygen mask, or in emergency, if his lungs are not working, they use ventilators. What they use in emergency cases, ventilators in hospitals, we can see that ventilators are used. These ventilators will be a pipe which is being inserted directly into the trachea, where directly we are sending the air, not through this, but the pipe is inserted in the trachea. Within the trachea, the oxygen is being supplied, so that somewhat the patient will be okay by taking oxygen. Otherwise, patient may die. So sometimes we use these ventilators. Now we come how the breathing mechanism, breathing in and out, will be taking place. How it will be taking place. So that is by a breathing mechanism. Then what is breathing mechanism? Breathing mechanism means actually how it takes place. Here the ribs and diaphragm are playing an important role in breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. Here we see that the ribs, in between the ribs, we can see some layers of muscles. These muscles will rib muscles. We can see that rib muscles. Let's say that rib muscles. These rib muscles, in between the ribs, the muscles present will be contract. Yes, contract, and they move upwards. And meanwhile, this diaphragm moves downwards. Diaphragm automatically moves downwards. When when we breathe in, and the chest cavity moves upwards, diaphragm moves downwards when we breathe in. Automatically what happens, when they move upwards, the chest ribs move upwards and the diaphragm moves downwards, there is a space created, a vacuum is created. When a vacuum is created, automatically when a vacuum is created, you can see the pressure is decreased here. Within the chest cavity, the pressure is decreased. When the pressure is decreased, here you can see the outside atmospheric air will be having more pressure. Due to that, what happens? The outside air enters into the nostrils. Through the nostrils, automatically it pushes down into the lungs. This is breathing in. Breathing in. And next thing is breathing in is over. Breathing in and breathing out. These two things goes on continuously throughout our life. The other thing what happens is the chest or rib muscles when they relax. The chest muscles when they relax or rib muscles when they relax, you can see that normally the chest cavity comes down, and automatically what happens when we breathe out, this diaphragm is a muscle layer, no, which is separating, that goes upwards, and then it pushes the lungs, and here chest rib muscles also relaxes and comes down. Due to that, there will be a pressure created over the lungs. So due to that, what happens, the air which is present, the carbon dioxide which is gathered within the alveoli will be passed into the bronchioles. From bronchioles again reaching to bronchus. From bronchus to trachea to pharynx, pharynx to nasal passage to nose. Then move, and then this CO2 will be coming out. Like this, you can see that the breathing mechanism, how it takes place, breathing in and out. In this way, we can see that once more I am going to repeat this important points. The respiratory system in human is very important. This is a system which is going to supply the oxygen to all the parts of the body. So there are various parts which are being involved in the process of respiration or breathing. We can say here nose, nostrils, nasal passages, pharynx, and this is a voice box which is going to produce sound that when we talk, the air will be coming out and going in. Due to that, we can just see that the sound is being produced, that is called as larynx, and the rings of cartilage which is made up of soft bones is called as trachea. Trachea is being extended in the chest cavity, which is actually there is one thing happens. One question you may ask, that when the air is not present in the trachea, is the trachea is going to be collapsed? No, there is no. Why? Because trachea is actually made up of soft rings of cartilage. Soft rings of cartilage. Here, rings of cartilage. And here, then again it extended to bronchus, bronchus to bronchioles, bronchioles to again there is alveoli, millions of alveoli are present. These are equal to, when we spread the surface area of the lungs, it is equal to 80 square meters, which is equal to one tennis court, where the sufficient oxygen will be taken in, and it is being distributed to all the parts. And here residual volume. What is this word we use? The residual volume means, residual volume means, I think every alveoli will be having a sufficient space and time to exchange the gases is being created within the alveoli. And then this, you can see the importance of the hemoglobin, how it is playing important role in carrying the oxygen to different parts of the body, and deficiency of hemoglobin is also makes weakness, unconscious, and so how much hemoglobin should present in our body, that is 10 to 2 once, and then carbon monoxide effects, lack of oxygen, if a patient emergency, they'll be using ventilators, breathing mechanism, in and out, how it takes place. We can create one small activity I want to show you is, so small simple thing, how the diaphragm. This is diaphragm, and inside balloons are acting as lungs, and here you can see this is chest cavity. So when we breathe in and out, what happens? How the diaphragm and the lungs are working out, easily you can. This is diaphragm, these are lungs. Here you can see this is the rib cage. So rib cage, they are made up of bones, and here in between the rib cage muscles will be present. So small activity you can do at home, and then work out whether they are working or not. Easily you can understand how the diaphragm is working. This is a small activity of mechanism of breathing. So once again, why I explained means, actually you have to know the clear picture about what is respiration and what is the importance of hemoglobin. I will be giving some questions. Already I gave that previously when I gave a video to you. So even though we give some more questions on this, so you have to work out and write it. Compulsory you have to do it in the notebook, and go through that same day you learn that, so that the topic will be clear to you.